YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with Week 14 score predictions, predicting the score to every game every single week. We also take a look at the lines of each game. But I do have my bets of the week on our Patreon. Link in the description and comments for that. A lot more on that page as well. If you're new, full NFL coverage here, weekly picks, score predictions, power rankings, a lot more, even in the offseason free agency NFL draft coverage. So subscribe, be much appreciated. Check out our Twitter. That's a must follow if you want updates on the channel, but mainly NFL content. A lot of it on there. Constantly talking during live games. We have an Instagram, podcast, Patreon, link down below for those. Underneath me, you see the Sided app. There's a link down below for that as well. Pretty cool app. Check it out. Before we get started with the Week 14 score predictions, I mentioned that Patreon. Bunch of extra content. My bets of the week for NFL, college football, junior score predictions, updated playoff predictions every week. A lot's going on there. A lot of you showing your support. Appreciate you very much for that. Score predictions, let's get to it. The Patriots are +5 at LA against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. I think a defensive game, low-scoring game, and I think the Rams pull this one off. It's pretty tough because it seems like a similar matchup for as the Niners for the Rams. They're going to come out, they're going to pound the football, try to run the ball, try to wear you out, and they're going to play some good defense. They're going to try to get those takeaways, which kind of have been the problem for the Rams this year. The Rams are a very good team, but because they're very balanced, they have one of the best defenses in football. The offense, when it gets going, they're going. They can score on anybody, but turnovers. That's the thing. Jared Goff he took care of the ball against the Cardinals. Got to take care of the ball against the red-hot Patriots defense. They've been getting more pressure than they normally do as well, something to look out for. I think this is a tougher matchup for the Patriots. They're going to play well defensively for the most part. Even if you have a really good defensive game against the Rams, they're still going to score. You're still going to have to, in some way, keep up with them. In the last couple games where the Patriots won, Cam Newton has thrown for 80 yards or under. He's going to have to throw a little more this game, and he can, but it's going to be tougher against his defense. So I do like the Rams winning by 6 in this one, just a little more offense, and I do trust their defense a little more in a defensive game here. So I like the Rams here. Got to stay consistent, though. Don't have, it feels like almost every other, for them. Next game, Texans Bears. It's an even line here. It's a pick 'em. I got the Texans. It's a toss-up one, though. The Bears actually got some offense going last week. What was the main reason for that is because they were able to finally run the ball, which they haven't been able to do, and that kind of opens up everything against a poor Lions run defense. They were able to pound the football. David Montgomery seemed unstoppable at times. Cordero Patterson was running well. The Texans, a pretty weak run defense as well. It's going to be pretty similar to Lions, so they're going to try to do the same thing. They're going to pound the football. It should be pretty effective, but there's going to be some points where they're going to have to throw the ball as well. I think they'll do okay doing that. I just don't fully trust this offense still to get a complete game. They scored 30 points last week, but was it a complete game for their offense? Kind of in an offensive era, I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I think he makes that extra play. He's going to take down the team, that passed on him here. So I'm going to go with the Texans mainly because Deshaun Watson, the much better quarterback here. And I got them winning by a field goal. But it should be a pretty close game. Two teams where it kind of feels like the life kind of gets sucked out of them last week. The Texans were about to win that game, a fluky play. The Bears had it in control. They turned the ball over in their own end there. So it's tough, but we'll see who can bounce back here. I got Houston by 3. Cowboys, Bengals. I got the Cowboys taking care of business here. I think their offense plays a pretty solid game in this one. Bengals defense is actually not as bad as you think it would be. They can make plays back there. Jesse Bates playing like the best safety in football right now. The problem is the Bengals don't get enough of a pass rush, and when you don't get pressure on Andy Dalton, they play very well. They play pretty well. That's kind of the key. If you get consistent pressure on them, they're going to play bad. If you don't, they're going to play good. That's pretty much what it is. What it is for a lot of teams, but specifically the Cowboys. So I think their offense does enough. I don't really trust the Bengals offense enough to keep up, mainly in the passing game here, though. So problem is, can they keep up in a team that's scoring, and do they have enough pressure? I don't think so. So I'm going to take the Cowboys by 7. They're -3.5. So that's looking pretty good there. If 3.5 is a little tricky because what if they only win by a field goal? So if that goes to 3, that looks pretty damn good there, I think. But who knows? Bengals could have one of those days where they're forcing turnovers on defense, and that's just the ball game there. Next game, Chiefs and Dolphins. This was an interesting one because I saw this matchup. I always look ahead of time way before at the matchups. And I see this one, I'm like, the Broncos played the Chiefs pretty well. They played a good defensive game. They made it interesting. The Dolphins play really good defense. If there was a weakness to their defense, it'd be stopping the run. The Chiefs don't really have they're a pass-first team. They don't really solidify the run, establish the run that early in games. They don't go crazy running the ball for the most part, and they're pretty good in coverage. So that sounds like the Dolphins got a pretty good, decent shot, more than you would think, and they still do. But then why that kind of changed on me after thinking more. The Chiefs, they can run the ball when they have to. They can be pretty effective when they want to, and they could go that route. Another thing is the Dolphins are a pretty good blitz team. They get pressure mainly off the blitz. They can get it in the old-fashioned way as well, just rushing the passer. But the blitz game, you don't want to blitz Patrick Mahomes. He becomes better when you blitz him. It's wild, but he does. So that kind of changes your defense altogether. They'll be on their toes. We got to worry about them getting Edwards-Helaire going. But I know objective number one is stop the pass game. But we can't really blitz them. So that's where it kind of backfires. I think the Chiefs are actually going to have a more successful offensive day than I once thought when I first saw this matchup. And they're balling on defense. They can play. For some reason the Raiders they can't stop, but. Do the Dolphins have enough offensively? Do they have a complete? I haven't really seen them put a complete game together yet with Tua in there, even though I know it's coming. Could this be the week? So we have the Chiefs taking care of business 30-20 here. Next game, it's just going to be a good one. As you can tell, I got a 1-point game at 21-20. The Cardinals could be trying to avoid the field goals now. If they have to kick it, they'll kick it. And Zane Gonzalez could hit it, but he's been struggling. But I got a 21-21 point game. Cardinals are minus 2.5. I'm surprised that one's not an even line. I usually play the matchup. I usually play, seeing what the matchup has here, what side it favors. I think it might slightly favor the Giants here. You see the Cardinals, they struggled offensively against the Patriots. Why? The Patriots, they ran a lot of stunts on the D-line, which was odd, I thought, but it worked out really well. And they had some blitzes to go on top of that. The Giants, what did they do against Seattle to beat them? They ran a lot of stunts, and they blitzed more than they normally do. And that's exactly what the Patriots did against the Cardinals. So the Giants are going to come out and do that same thing. They know how to game plan. The Giants defense, they know how to game plan. They're a very solid defense, tight in coverage. And they picked up Joe Webb to play Kyler Murray role, in practice. I like that. So the Giants will play very well defensively. My gut is telling me the Cardinals kind of get out of that funk a little bit. Even though you can slow down the Cardinals. It's kind of been shown that the tape might be out. You can slow them down quite a bit, almost stop them offensively. I still think Kyler Murray and company makes that extra play, maybe that 2 extra plays to win the game, and I think their defense gets that extra turnover. The Giants haven't really turned the ball over recently, and that's still something that it didn't just go away. It didn't just go away. So I'm feeling the Cardinals kind of make that extra play on both sides of the ball here. But the Giants, you can't joke around about the Giants no more. They can play. They're a disciplined team. Defense, can't give this defense enough credit here. I got the Cardinals pulling it off. DeAndre Hopkins maybe stepping up a little bit this week compared to last week. Did get a touchdown still last week, but I got them. That's a squeaker though. That's a tough game. I can't wait for that one. Next game, I got the Buccaneers. I'm confident with the Buccaneers in this one. They are favored by 6.5. I got them winning by a pretty good amount here. And the Vikings are heating up. They're getting better. And their offense has been pretty good. So you may say, why 17? I hate this matchup for the Vikings. I absolutely hate it. If you told me who is the team they match up the worst with in the NFC, it's right here. It's the Buccaneers, maybe the Rams, but I'm thinking the Buccaneers, that number one team they just don't want to play, and they got to play them off a bye week. They're pissed off. They're on a run against the Chiefs too, but that's really besides the point. I don't like the matchup. The Vikings, Kirk Cousins has been throwing the ball very well. The receiver duo looks very good, but what's their identity? We know their identity is still run first team. They're going to open things up with Dalvin Cook. And the Buccaneers have the best run defense in football right now. And that doesn't mean Cook can't still play well. I think he'll play well, but they're not going to go crazy. They're going to slow him down. The Buccaneers are pretty effective on the pass rush. They also blitz, and they're going to use the combination of that. After stopping the run, they're going to get the Vikings to obvious passing situations. They're going to blitz them. They're going to get pressure. And the Vikings, the reason Cousins has been playing good, he can throw. I don't think people give him enough credit with his arm. But he's also been kept pretty clean. Last week, for some reason, the Jacksonville Jaguars were actually able to, the team that hasn't really been getting pressure, they were actually able to get pressure. So the offensive line kind of came back down to earth a little bit for the Vikings. Now a much, much tougher task. And what do they have in the secondary? Secondary, they got playmakers. They're guys that kind of get beat here and there, but they get their hands on the ball too. So the Vikings, even though they've been explosive on offense, they've turned the ball over a little bit. So they got number one, they got to take care of the ball in this one. So I like the way the Buccaneers defense actually matches up, and I like the way their offense matches up as well. The Vikings aren't getting any pressure. They got a little more on Glennon at the end of the game, but that's the Jaguars and Glennon. I like the Bucs offensive line. They're going to keep Tom Brady clean, and that makes Tom Brady play much better. And this is an old school defense he's going to, a defense that he's seen a million times. I don't mean specifically the Vikings defense, but it's a type of defense he's seen several times and dominated several times. He's going to have a day. He's going to have a day. And the Vikings' young corner group's been playing better, but you got to deal with Mike Evans. You got to deal with Chris Godwin, who's actually questionable, but I think he'll play. Antonio Brown, all of those, a couple of those tight ends. Ronald Jones is heating up. This is the worst matchup for the Vikings. So if they win this game, we all got to start taking the Vikings pretty damn serious. I just don't think they're going to win this game. It is a terrible matchup. 30-17 Buccaneers. This is a perfect time to kind of get out of that funk and get going. And the Buccaneers have dominated these types of matchups this year offensively. The games that they kind of let us down on were Rams, Giants, Bears, Saints. All those teams are top-tier defenses, all right? I like the Buccaneers, as you could tell. The Broncos +4 at Panthers. This is a toss-up game. It's a 50-50 game. I was surprised that the Panthers are favored by 4 points in this game. I thought it'd be around even, maybe favored by 1 or 2. I did pick them. Broncos played a pretty good game against the Chiefs. That almost makes everyone probably want to pick them, but it's a totally different game. It's a new week. They were pretty effective running the ball, which controlled the clock last week against the Chiefs. Don't think they'll be as effective running the ball. Panthers are actually getting better and better stopping the run, and they make plays if you put the ball in the air. Drew Lock's been turning the ball over a little bit, so they'll get their hands on the ball. So I do like the way the Panthers defense matches up. Maybe a similar type of game for playing the Lions, but they're not going to hold them to 0, obviously. And then I like the Broncos defense. McCaffrey's back, though, and A.J. Bouye now suspended. That's their best corner. And Callahan's playing pretty well as well, but he's a guy that you can see in the slot and outside. So I think McCaffrey gets going. I think the Broncos will be on their toes. Are they running the McCaffrey? They throwing the McCaffrey? They throwing downfield to their speed guys with our lack of corner play here. So I like the Panthers to just edge them out. Teddy needs to step it up, though. I think he was playing hurt against the Vikings, but that was a pretty poor outing. So he needs to step it up. He's been inconsistent. One week it's like, okay, it's the franchise guy. The next week it's like, nope, not it. So he's let me down. Sometimes I've picked him in these close games. So I'm going with the Panthers. I think more of the matchup sides towards them, but it should be a pretty good game there. Titans, I think the Titans bounce back. The Jags actually played the Vikings pretty well. They forced it to overtime. The Titans, Derrick Henry's going to run on them. It's going to open up the pass when they need the pass. I think they're going to pound the football, run the clock. Running the clock will make it a little easier for their defense. So the Jaguars, even though anybody can score on the Titans defense, I think there's gonna be a limited clock there. They're gonna, Glennon's coming back down to earth a little bit too. The Browns game he actually played quite well, and they were close in that game. Parts of the Vikings game he played pretty well early on, played pretty well. Later he was kind of throwing some interceptable balls. The Vikings finally they end up getting 2 actually, but they get one at the end of the game. So I think the Titans defense can make plays in the back end. Waiting for Kevin Byard to kind of go off. He's a playmaker that I know his job became harder this year with the rest of the defense, not playing as well. But maybe this is a game where he kind of gets going, gets his hands on the ball a little bit. So it really should be no problem for the Titans. They always make things interesting though, I suppose, and they'll have no problem. It's going to be a really good game. Playoff implications here. This is a huge game. This has got to be the biggest game of the week, I think. There's a lot of them. And I know Bills, Steelers, 2 top-tier teams, but this is the winner of this game. Both these teams are a little on the fence of the playoffs. Colts barely in right now. Raiders barely out. Both these teams could make it. Both teams could be out. One could be in. One could be out. The winner, the percentage skyrockets to making the playoffs. The loser, it's going down. It's plummeting. Maybe not plummeting, but it's going down a bit. So it's a huge game. This is a good game because they're pretty even With saying that, it's kind of why I'm picking the Colts, because the biggest difference, I do think the Colts play much better defense. The Raiders got a sneaky defense. They can make some plays. Philip Rivers' capabilities of turning the ball over, so that's a scary thing. But I trust the Colts defense more. Their offense has been putting up more points than we kind of expected at this point of the year. They're getting going, even though before the season I said they would probably get going later in the year. So I guess that's kind of taking place here. I like their offense this game. I think they play pretty well. In this game, I think Rivers, he played well last week. They got the running game going last week. It doesn't really matter which running back they use. They're getting Michael Pittman going. They're getting T.Y. Hilton going. So I think the offense plays a pretty good game. I think the Raiders offense plays a pretty good game as well. The Colts defense is very good. I think teams are starting to game plan a little bit for it. They're watching the tape. They're able to find, some weaknesses, even though it's a very good defense, not much there, and able to get yards and get points, produce a little bit. So they both run a cover two defense for the most part. So they're both familiar with this. So I think the offenses kind of get going. Again, I think the Colts defense kind of makes that extra play, even in an offensive game, and they make that extra play to win the game by 3 points here. Both teams off dramatic wins. It's tough to perform fresh off dramatic wins. I think the Raiders win was a little more dramatic. Again, the other reasons are really why I'm picking the Colts. But that's something, it's always tough to play off those types of wins. So we'll see how they I guess, react from that. So I got the Colts. I got the Seahawks. They're favored by 13.5. Bad game against the Giants. It won't happen again. Nowhere near the defensive level of the Giants, the Jets, that is. I think Jamal Adams against his former team can make some plays. He's been heating up. He needs one more sack to break the record for sacks in a single season by a defensive back, so that's pretty impressive. He should get that in this game, I would expect. I think they just do enough. Russell Wilson didn't play like himself last week. I think he bounces back. They're probably going to be playing angry. Getting upset, last week against the Giants. So they'll bounce back here. The Jets pretty much want to lose at this point, so it's a win-win. Packers, Lions, yes, I got a shootout here. I got a good old-fashioned shootout, 38-31. The Packers are favored by 7.5. I have them winning by 7, so in the ballpark there. They can't take the Lions lightly. I don't think they will, because the Lions have put points up on the board. The Packers certainly aren't that team to take teams lightly here. The Lions offense seemed better. They put up 34 points, won a game against a good Bears defense. Packers kind of did the same thing a week prior against a good Bears defense. So I trust both offenses, actually. Matt Stafford looked good last week. These guys they got a little momentum. They got a little motivation, I guess, with Patricia out there. I just really don't trust the Lions defense at all. They have a tackling problem. I guess the Packers kind of do as well. I think Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, they have a day, and it's going to make things even easier, even though you don't really need to make things easier for Aaron Rodgers. It's going to make things easier, so they make that extra play. I think they'll be in control of this game. I think it's going to be like Packers, well, maybe the Lions will score first, but as the game gets going, it's going to be Packers score, Lions score, Packers. Maybe the Packers get 2 scores, the Lions score to try to keep up. So I think it's going to be kind of one of those games where the Lions are trying to keep up, and they're somewhat in the ballpark, but they can't really close in. So I like the Packers here. In this game. We need to see a consistent Stafford for this to take place, though, because we've seen him kind of hot and cold. But I got the Packers. Saints, Eagles, maybe a little closer than you think. I think the Saints control this game, though, pretty much the whole time. Eagles play, they'll stop the run. They're going to game plan for the small ball. Taysom Hill, they're going to try to take him out of it. It's easier said than done, though, with him and Kamara. But I think they'll slow them down more than other teams have been able to slow them down. But, they're not going to stop them. And there's going to be a lot of clock coming off in this game. I think Hurts is going to run. They're going to try to get Sanders going a little more. See them trying to get Howard going. The Saints play really, really well. Run defense, though, obviously. In general, on defense, have been playing well. So I think a lot of clock's going to come off, so I don't think too crazy with the separation of the score line here. The Saints will control most of this game. It is a tough game plan, though, against Hurts. You don't really know what to expect. I think you'd rather play Carson Wentz at this point. So the Eagles will kind of stay in the ballpark. But again, I think the Saints will kind of be somewhat comfortable, throughout this game. Eagles trying to play keep up, but somewhat close there. But I got the Saints 26-20. We'll see how Hurts does. He did look better than Wentz. He's going to be a game plan problem for some teams, but the Saints just play too good of defense to kind of let him take over and beat them. Falcons and Chargers. I got the Falcons winning by 10 here. I'm surprised it's only 2.5. I know the Falcons could let us down at any given time, but they've been playing a lot better ball. Their defense looks good, and the tape is kind of out on Justin Herbert. Teams are able to game plan. They're making him make mistakes. The offensive line's not playing as well. They do have Eckler back, though, but I like this Falcons defense. This could be a similar matchup to the Raiders game. I'm not saying they're going to be that ridiculous, like the Raiders game, but it's a similar matchup, and I think they can have an effective game. As you can see, 17 points. And their offense hasn't really been too hot lately, but I think they make that extra play. They make enough plays here where they win the game by around 10, in my opinion, 27-17. So that line looks pretty interesting, but are the Falcons a team you can fully trust there? But Chargers are definitely not. They're not playing good at any unit right now, any phase. So that's not good, but it's a future team. Washington and San Francisco here. Game will be played in Arizona, though, because that whole situation with the Niners can't play at home. Their home stadium for now is Arizona Cardinals Stadium. I got the Niners winning. It's a toss-up game. I got them winning 24-20. I think a defensive game. The Niners, win off game plan. Especially with all these injuries. They're a very good well-coached team on both offense, defense. It seems like the games they can't really win. It's because where the game plan doesn't matter, really, because they'll play the teams that just downright, they'll score on you. They're going to score on anybody. There's really no game plan for that. It's just, we got to keep up. We got to get out there and score at any chance. That's the teams they're losing to. Washington's not that team right now. They are playing better ball on offense. Antonio Gibson probably going to be out, though. The Niners are really good at defending the small ball, which the Washington football team likes to do. They did have some, kind of daggers, some deep shots, so they do have to watch out for that. But Niners well disciplined on defense. I think they'll make that extra play. I think they'll get their hands on the ball once or twice. Washington could do that too on defense. Their defense is heating up. They got a really good front. They're going to get pressure on Mullins. They're going to make a mistake. So it's really which team turns the ball over more is going to lose the game. So I could see a 2 turnovers to 1 here type deal. So that's something to look out for. The Niners are going to come out, though, and they're going to pound the football still. Washington stops running at a pretty solid level, but Niners, they wear you out. The first guy's not going to make the tackle always, so I think that could be a difference for their offense as well. This is a type of game that Shanahan and company, they game plan well for these types of games. And I trust them. I like Washington's staff and the way they game plan. I'm just feeling the Niners in this type of matchup. It's the matchup they've won consistently. They're not technically home, but they're not away, so nobody's home here. So I guess that's that helps the Niners, not being in Washington. But I got to get them taking care of business here. It's a 50-50 game. Should be pretty close. Steelers Bills 50-50 game. This is probably the toughest one to pick. Maybe the Monday night game might be a little tougher. Maybe the Cardinals Giants. There's a lot of them. I got the Steelers. This one's tough, and the Bills are favored here. The Bills are hot. I love me some Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs could very well be the best receiver in football right now, and he could be a problem for the Steelers secondary. It's a tough guy for them to cover, perhaps. And Joe Hayden might be out. That's something I'm kind of looking into, monitoring. He's about 50-50, probably concussion protocol for him. So that could change some things. I think they'll get Steven Nelson back. If somehow Nelson and Hayden are both out, that might be where I have to switch my pick, perhaps. Spillane's going to be out. We know Bud Dupree's out. I think TJ Watt's going to be a factor still. That's because he is a factor. But we've seen the offensive line of the Bills hasn't been playing as good, as it was maybe. Seeing against the Chargers when they play a really good pass rusher. Joey Bosa creates problems back there. TJ Watt is better than Joey Bosa. Maybe not the same style of guy. Joey Bosa got more strength to him. But TJ Watt I think he's going to create some problems, but the Bills still score a decent amount of points. They were 24. Obviously, I trust Josh Allen. I like his game right now. Steelers need to get the run game going. I think James Conner coming back. I think you can run the Bills. You see, when the Niners were always down, so they couldn't really run the ball that much. When they did run the ball, they were breaking that first tackle. They were making a push. I think the Steelers can get that going. Both teams need to get the run game going. Whoever gets that run game going early to kind of get that clock going to manage the time of possession, and that could be the winner of this game. Two teams that don't really need to get the run game going to win the game, but it's something I would like to see for them. And the Steelers, they got to manage the drops, and I'm just got a feeling they catch the ball a little better in this game. They got to get Claypool going a little more. When they get him going, they're on. When they give him the ball, they're on. I think they're going to get the ball out quick. The Bills, again, defense is playing good, secondary is playing good, but do they have the corner unit to deal with the wide variety of very good receivers of the Steelers? That's kind of a factor for me too. Tre'Davious White's going to lock down somebody, then you got to deal with all these other guys. The other corners are playing all right. Levi Wells, they're playing all right. But they got a lot to manage here, and that can open up the run game, kind of going back to that. Defensively, like I said, I think TJ Watt can get some pressure, but the Bills secondary is playing better. Steelers, I'm just feeling them in this game for everything I said there, but I do like the Bills. The Bills are a tough game plan. Here's a side for the Bills. Here's a reason you could pick the Bills. Steelers, they get pass rush, but they actually like to blitz a lot. Spillane being out, Bud Dupree, who is an edge rusher, but he'll come around, blitz from the inside. That affects their blitz game. Do they still want to stick to their game plan? But that game plan, blitzing, Josh Allen kind of make you pay for blitzing. So which angle do they want to take there? It's kind of all over the place, but maybe that's could side with them too because you don't know what to expect from the Steelers defense. So back and forth, 50-50 game. Love the way the Bills are playing. I'm feeling the Steelers in this one for the reasons I said. In this one, it's another 50-50 game. I got the Ravens right now. This is definitely one I can change. I love the way the Browns are playing. They got the formula, I keep saying it, to beat anybody. They're going to pound the football. They're going to run the clock. They're going to wear you out. That's going to open up the passing game. They're going to hit that dagger in the passing game. Defense gets the turnovers. The Ravens, they can turn the ball over on offense. Ravens do the same thing, though. They're going to pound the football. They're going to run the clock. They're going to wear you out. Whoever gets the ball first might win this game. It's one of those games. Whoever gets the ball first and gets the control of that clock and wears you down and gets down there and you're going to have to score on that first possession if you do get it. That could be the difference. And the Ravens are getting back to playing their game from last year offensively. They're going to pound the ball. Lamar Jackson's running a little more. They're getting the running backs going. I like all of their running backs, and it worked against the Cowboys using all three evenly, but I honestly, and I don't even know which one it should be. I don't know which one it is, but honestly, I would prefer just kind of giving one guy the load. Obviously, you got to use multiple backs, but as a running back, you're not going to break a big run. I know they did it against the Cowboys, but you're not going to get in your groove unless you're able to get in your groove. So I prefer kind of having a lead back. I don't really care which one it is, So Lamar Jackson's got to be on target. He has the wild play where he's on target. Big play helps him win the game. Then he's kind of a little off. He's got to be a little more on target here. Baker, I love Baker. He's balling right now. A little tougher task because these corners will be tight in coverage. A little different than the Titans, I suppose. But teams have shown, and it's why I almost want to pick the Browns. You can run the Ravens lately. The Titans ran all over them. Zeke was running on them. The Eagles in limited snaps ran on them. Some teams are running on them right now. And we know the Browns are maybe the best run team in football. So Chubb and company, Chubb and Hunt can get going, and that could be the difference in the game. Something's telling me the Ravens here. I think the difference is their defense. I trust their defense a little more. The Browns do get their hands on the ball, but I trust the Ravens to make. I think their defense is better. I think, but whoever pounds the ball earlier, gets it going earlier, manages clocks, and win the game. It's an even line. I think quite a bit of offense. Feeling the Ravens, but this is the ultimate toss-up game, flip a coin here pretty much. So it's going to be whoever shows up, whoever starts early. Remember last time they played, Browns got the ball first. They were actually moving. Baker threw a pick. The Ravens went and scored on that drive. They had a situation with a punt, and then they faked it. Ravens got a field goal on that drive. They're up 10-0. Mistakes. Got the Browns down. They have to start good early to be in their groove. So this could be a totally different game. That game pretty much means nothing at this point. So if the Browns get the ball and they get in the end zone this time, I'm thinking the Browns are going to win the game. That's just how it is. So it'll be a totally different game. You can't take last time and base it off that. We'll see though. We'll see. Another game that I could end up. I don't like switching my picks, but it's a toss-up one. That's my point there. That'll do it for my Week 14 score predictions, though. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. Make sure you follow that Twitter. It's a must-follow. If you don't have a Twitter, make one. Link down below for that at GoDallasNFL. A lot of videos on the channel, a lot more to come, even in the off season. We got you covered. It's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.